Welcome back to game number 3, Counter Logic Gaming versus Team Envy. In case you missed game number 2, Envy have tied things up with a strong showing of their own to answer CLG's victory in game number 1, and CLG have chosen blue side for game number 3.
Yeah, and we can see it's a clear preference here for both CLG to be on blue and Envy to be on red, as that's what they've chosen in their respective games. And I want to see if there's any switch-ups right here, because we heard Mark talking fairly critically of even some of both teams' choices in these drafting phase, but specifically, I want to see if CLG keep first picking Zach, because that seems like a pick that is giving them a big early game hole and then is along for the ride if they come back, rather than being the reason that they come back.
Yeah, instead I would want to see them go for something that has a little bit more presence in the early parts of the game. I even think first picking the Gragas here, flexing it for Darshan, and not allowing Envy to have it, which they showed they were willing to for a first round pick for themselves, might be a better way to go about it.
Plus, OmarGod, a player who, before actually making his LCS debut, was known for his proficiency on Olaf and Gragas. Those were the 2 champions that came to mind when people talked about OmarGod. It wouldn't be surprising to see him back on one of those familiar faces.
Yeah, and both of these teams incredibly stubborn with their pre-series prep. The same bans, all 3 games at the very start. And now the first 7 selects of each champion select will be the same, and they switch it up. They realize that the Zach has been putting them in big hole early game holes, and they take the Gragas. I'm happy about that.
Well, the Gragas has more power with the flex and the fact that LirA, you don't know if he's going to play Zach. I feel like Zach for LirA shuts down what Envy have been doing this series and kind of bullying OmarGod, and LirA would want to actually have more control of the early parts of the game.
You're not going to bully the enemy jungler as Zach. We have already talked extensively about how weak Zach is early on, but Team Envy are saying, hey, remember that bot lane that we played in game number 2? That was pretty good. Let's do it again.
It was pretty good against what CLG have also just fired on in this second and third pick, have been Tristana Alistar. As we mentioned, though, when you're on same side against the same team, you are the ones that have to adapt if you lost the last game. Envy's going with clone picks. CLG might make the big change.
Yeah, Morgana, and I would say Twitch jumps out to me. Also, the Tristana, once again, harder to lock down. But they're taking their time with it.
Oh, do it, 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 do it.
We want to see it. It's his pocket pick. It's hype every time he picks it. The amount of time that they're hovering this pick, though, makes me think they are just playing a mind game and are going with something else.
Come on, CLG, follow your heart.
Ooh,
that's not your, okay, that's still all right.
Well, hold on.
That's still all right.
Hold on now. This essentially is telling us that, yeah, there's no more counter picks for AD carries, but you could have baited out bans by not picking AD carry if you wanted to go with Jinx anyway. They're going to be banning Trist away from you, maybe even Twitch away from you, maybe Cog away from you, something. They're not going to be banning Jinx away from you with more.
No.
But this just means they want more value for the counter pick that Huhi could do in the second phase of the draft.
Exactly, and if you actually pick your mid laner here, you get countered. If you pick your top laner here, you give away where your flex is. So picking the AD carry here and just matching the roles that have been selected seems to be just the easiest way for them to kind of exploit the draft.
They did switch it up, though.
Yes.
That's for sure. We're saying you can't do the same things again.
They're not.
Pick the same order of champions, jungle, and then bot lane with their first 2 choices, but totally different. Meanwhile, Envy, with that Corki, have switched it up as well. It's just an overload of damage, whereas last time they had Galio, so that comp's going to play much differently as well.
I like Envy banning Gnar again, just like they did in game number 2. They saw how hard that shut Seraph down. They're not willing to let Darshan play it again. CLG, meanwhile, they're going to ban away Renekton. Aww, Aurelion Sol banned away by Team Envy. No Dragon.
And I actually do dislike the fact that CLG did pick Jinx there, because I do think they could have baited bans out. And if they wanted to run a Jinx-centric composition, I think Aurelion Sol works tremendously well with hyper carries. If you are able to get the early game advantage off of his roaming, then you can just sit with your orbs outside a turret and use that as protection, added protection for your AD carry. Obviously, though, they value the counter pick so much more highly, and the A-Sol is banned away.
Yeah, and that strategy, like you're talking about, would work if they consider there are no counters possible to the Aurelion Sol that they would try and pick it.
Now, Envy locking in themselves. Their early jungler, yet again, wants to have that Elise like they did in game number 1, but we'll have to see if they can get more success here than they did there.
All right, let's go back to game 1 for a second. One of the big things that happened was CLG had artillery. They had people who were on the back line firing and dealing damage, and Envy didn't have enough engage. this team composition from Envy, looking to win some lanes here, but the engage, reaching this Jinx that'll have Black Shield is going to be so difficult that she's also going to have Peel and a tank line now. So Envy really need to get something as this last pick, and I was expecting a Maokai to come through for some type of lockdown, but it's taken away. Yeah,
Maokai has been absent from the draft phase in this series, even though it was so prevalent. And that's the question you bring up, Cyrene. Is this time to bring back the Vel'Koz? Because Envy has a similar initiation portfolio that they had in Game 1, which could not reach the Vel'Koz. The question now becomes, can Seraph pick something in the top lane to go against the Maokai that can be a difference maker in reaching Vel'Koz and Jinx in teamfights?
He has to. Envy can't have already forgotten what happened in game number 1 when they could not close that distance, but this does not... Champion without a dash doesn't close gaps.
But it is a split pusher that can maybe take Maokai away from fights. Late game scaling in tank versus tank matchups as a top lane Trundle is absurd. You get to steal so many resists, and you're inherently such a strong stat stick of a champion in Trundle, it can work. But the team fight problem persists. It's going to be about them setting up the right split push plays now.
And what I'm looking at for these compositions is Envy winning every single lane here in terms of early game and pressure. I would consider the mid kind of equal, but the Corki autos would win that one out. So they have, once again, all the winning matchups, including jungle here. So CLG are the ones who have to play on the defensive early. Envy have to force the issue. If they can get enough of a lead before the team fights happen, they're in a really good spot.
Yeah, and it's an issue of magnitude of how much you're losing by in order to get to the late game, because this is another bet by CLG that they can get to the late game. Their late game 5v5 is insane, and the Gragas is stronger than the Zac was, but that doesn't get him out of the woods of having a weak early game.
Right, Zac or not, it seems like we're going through the same motions each time of CLG will play for the late game, Envy will play for the early, who can execute the overall strategy better and make sure their opponent doesn't find that one.
To be honest though, it feels like a lot of disrespect towards Envy. This team was 6th coming into playoffs. They had an 8-10 record. The next playoff team in 5th had 11 more wins in Dignitas. So that disparity, a lot of teams considered Envy to be the worst. We heard it at the start. And it feels like CLG aren't respecting that and giving them all the win lanes early.
In the opener, you actually heard the teammates of CLG talking about, yeah, Envy's the weakest team. We should have a pretty easy matchup here. Well, right now, they're tied.
Yeah, and there also is a very important distinction between fear and respect right now. So they are still picking, they're giving them respect by not picking Zac again, to be fair, because they want a stronger early game presence in the jungle. But if you are trying to craft a strategy to beat Envy, since they are a good early game team, scaling to late game can be a very good one. And I think that's clearly what CLG is trying to do against this Envy team. It's worked 1 time out of 2. Envy is still picking for winning matchups and then trying to orchestrate wins after that, even if their team composition cohesion isn't at the same level.
And you're right. I was talking about it in, I believe, game 1 or 2, where if I'm drafting against Envy, I'm going to draft that mid-late game because I feel like they would win the early game. But now it just feels like Envy have stepped up since we had last saw them in the regular season. They've had more time with Nisqy. Apollo has been a fantastic performer for them. And Seraph is not honestly a liability at the moment in the way that he's been playing so far against Darshan. And if you give him a winning matchup, they're going to be able to take it pretty far. Now,
do we think we're going to see the same invade from Envy for a 3rd time in a row?
I don't think you invade on this Morgana.
I mean, I would be hesitant to say why not, because CLG didn't seem to have answers for it. However, yeah, fool me twice, fool me 3 times. CLG didn't show that they had the ability to counterplay it there. I think it's a little bit riskier going up against a more Jinx for whatever reason. I feel like the punch they'd have, especially with Vel'Koz, might be able to change CC, or just Gragas being so much stronger of a level 1 than a Zac, right? You'd actually even be able to chase with barrel. So I think the Gragas is the reason they didn't do the same type of early game strategy.
Also, Omar just starts a different camp. He goes to the Raptors first, so he's not on his red buff, and his bottom lane can at least contest. Oh. He's like, this is a paranoia right here.
Yeah.
LirA's up to something.
This is the LirA factor.
We always hear this from players, right? Even though LirA was on a 10th place team, he got the all-pro jungler last split. This split, he was number 3, right? And he's on a 6th place team. When you play against LirA, the pros really can't stop talking about how he's so creative in his routes, and that playing against him is just so much pressure because he always seems to be doing something in your face.
Yeah, and he's never wasting time. So one thing OmarGod did there is he stutter-stepped around his blue buff, even though he had a ward in the river, which cost him 3 or 4 seconds. LirA didn't do that. LirA's cleared 3 camps in the time it took OmarGod to clear 2.
Exactly.
And I was getting an immediate counter jungle.
But it's actually crucial that OmarGod went Raptors to his blue, because if he had gone Raptors Wolves to blue, LirA would have been there as he was doing.
CLG trading aggressively against Envy here in the bottom lane. Ignite down onto Stixxay from Hakuho there to take him down to about 100 HP.
And Stixxay's gone Dorn's Blade, not Shield, so it's going to be a while until he can get his health back up here. They got to play really cautiously against this Envy team. Yes, Ignite is down, but still the potential of a flash play with Elise gank is ever present. They haven't spotted Elise on the map yet, so even though that Gromp was taken, there were no wards that showed the Gromp going away and no indication that he was there.
Omar just now grabbing his red for himself. Means he'll have it a little bit longer in terms of utilizing it for ganks moving forward, but early ganks haven't been the story of this series so far for either side.
Yeah, but Envy honestly know that OmarGod should be on the bottom side of the map with the ward that they had placed on the top side, and that's why Seraph was playing so far forward there and actually dealing damage to the turret just by walking up. And you usually don't see that at this early part of the game where he's able to walk up, just chomp it a few times, and get some hits off.
Yeah, there is one strategy that Seraph has in mind this game, and he's getting a head start on it. And to be fair, in this bottom lane, Stixxay is not expected to have a CS lead over the Varus. He is expected to scale very aggressively with the Black Shield from Morg later on.
Yeah, and the fact that aphromoo went for the Ancient Coin, which doesn't have any combat stats on it, kind of just indicates that, where they're not looking to win this matchup. They're looking, once again, to have scaling come online. Y'all, it's also Windspeaker's Blessing from aphromoo. We sometimes see the Stoneborn pack, which will allow you to give Ardent Sensor to multiple people off of a binding, but this means he's giving Ardent Sensor to a single person when he puts the shield on them. But the shield will be harder to break. So it'll be harder to break, it'll give resistances, and then it's also something that will allow Stixxay to stay alive in these fights. Because how are you breaking this shield? Maybe LirA some damage from Nisqy, but when it comes to the CC, there really isn't too much magic damage to actually break it on contact.
LirA really likes hanging around in these brushes in OmarGod's jungle.
Yeah, it has been his MO this series to track OmarGod everywhere, but he hasn't actually really killed them in his jungle the whole time. He's stolen a few camps, but
he knows where he is, though.
In this matchup, this is the least Omar has been held down by LirA.
Yeah, a little bit of that is his start, and also the fact that Gragas able to hold up in that early part of the game as well. He leaves one for him? Yes, he does.
Ooh, that's a big early roam from Huhi. This top lane,
yeah, that's
gonna be a battleground.
Could be in some serious trouble here as Huhi makes his way up there. OmarGod gonna be coming up as well.
Seraph saving his flash.
Seraph's eating a lot of damage though. Cast comes out. Seraph knows there's no way out. Flash or not. First blood goes over to Darshan.
Yeah, and that is finally an early gank from OmarGod to help one of his lanes, something that has been absent in the other games.
And so you cannot ward infinitely as a top laner with just a trinket. What Seraph did is he put down his wards after LirA's had expired in the jungle, and then those wards had just expired. As he had a wave he was trying to shove to the turret, Darshan holds the wave, takes damage dueling the Trundle, and the Trundle wants to force it all the way to the turret so it'll bounce back. And Darshan delays him enough, the wards expire, and that's when they collapse. And Seraph really couldn't do much about that, or else he risks Darshan freezing the wave.
Level 5 from Apollo and Hakuho as they move forward. Dark Passage to bring Apollo back to safety there. Flay didn't really find its mark on that one, but Stixxay still just on the back foot. This looks the exact same it has in the previous 2 games, guys. These two never get away from their turret.
Apollo is really good, paired alongside Hakuho, and you can see right there, he held it long enough. You want to get that to the turret, and that was the thing. Those wards had just expired as well, and the roam was right on time. This is brilliantly played by CLG in terms of timing and the fact that they had priority in those lanes.
Yeah, timing and pathing to get 3 people up there while Seraph is surprised. And also, Seraph wasn't even level 6. If you're level 6 and you don't come up there with a whole bunch of damage, sometimes the Trundle just gets away anyway. Also, he saved his flash, so yes, he did die, but he's probably going to be pretty confident to continue to stay pushed in that lane.
And that's what you need. If you blow your flash and then your pressure is gone, then really you're not getting a whole bunch out of this Trundle at that point. Being able to push that early part of the game instead of lose tempo is huge. And honestly, dueling Darshan will be a little bit difficult now with the Bramble Vest coming through to shut down a lot of that Trundle healing. So now he's focused on shoving waves, killing turrets, warding the jungle, would be the goal right now for Seraph.
And that's exactly what Bramble Vest was put in the game for, right? It's supposed to be this item that makes
Shutting them all
tanks
down?
just aren't this big lifesteal sponge for bruisers.
Seraph really wants to take this blue, but CLG knows he's on it.
Yep.
They're thinking that he's on it, and Seraph goes, mid lane just went missing. I'm scared now.
Trying to back away, the knockup finds its mark. Omar collapsing, Darshan collapsing. The flash away, with an advance. Will find him.
Slow on the flash. He was suspicious when Huhi started roaming, and the big X factor here is the fact that Huhi has push pressure against Corki, which is really hard to do, and he's been able to make 2 roam plays with it, so early big plays actually coming out from Huhi, even though he's only gotten 1 of those kills.
It's that non-interactive Vel'Koz double W max first lane where he's just putting points in the wave clear. Not that poke. Like, you don't max the Q first on Vel'Koz. That's like, you know, that ARAM stuff where you're trying to hit people on the side.
We're actually trying to interact with the other players. No.
Max that W first. Just kill all the creeps with 2 of them.
League of Legends pre-20 minutes PvE game, except when you're doing stuff like this.
And the fact that they haven't really been warding, like, when LirA is warding the enemy jungle, he's not warding around the sides of mid or looking for roams there. So they don't see that Huhi's coming, or even that OmarGod had walked all the way across mid from his bottom side jungle to get there.
And this is almost making up for the fact that CLG is getting pushed in so much in the bottom side. And unless Hakuho is roaming, the bottom lane getting pushed in doesn't have a large influence over the game. But this is what it does influence is Scuttlecraft control is non-existent, CLG can't check the river, and Envy going for the Ubi-ish puzzle.
And I like the difference here, because we're seeing some differences in terms of like dragons, but the difference in item build for LirA. We had gone for the mobility boots in the first game to punish the Zac over and over again. First purchase was an Amp Tome to try and duel the Gragas, never found him, and now he's transitioning towards just getting the vision before mobility boots or any boot of that kind to just track now, because he doesn't feel like he'd be able to take the one-on-one or his lanes are good enough or far enough ahead at this point.
CLG with their 2 kills, up about 500 gold, so like we commented earlier with the fact that OmarGod did get involved with an early gank, and this is more activity than we've seen in the previous 2 games out of CLG early on. This is the first time we're also seeing them with that early gold lead. Nisqy with a package ready for delivery. Looking around in the enemy jungle, and you've always got to play so carefully when enemy Corki has package up like that. And now that it's gone, things will go back to normal. Hakuho dials in yet another hook. aphromoo going to be taking low, the ignite down the auto attack, and not quite able to find him. Just enough back onto Hakuho. OmarGod comes in, flashing to the body slam, into more damage. The super mega death rocket finds its mark.
And they get all summoners in that engage.
LirA's not going in on that one. Repels up, comes right back down on the defensive. OmarGod still thinking about going back in. Body slams, hitbox is ridiculous.
Oh, the spider!
The Spiderling eats the binding, but now OmarGod taken low.
Corki coming
wants
through.
to come in here. He's got Valkyrie. Trying to show up with a phosphorus bomb, black shield. And that Gragas protected. Root down onto the Corki. That's a 1-for-0, CLG.
Oh man, so being able to turn around the bottom lane's aggression, another first for this series for CLG. The Morg comes in really big there, and Afro baits out so much what buys time for him, and they're continuing to play aggressive, maybe a little bit too aggressive, as Stixxay does have summoners, doesn't want to use them though.
No mana left for Apollo means he's not really in any danger of actually dying here. Hakuho showing up. LirA coming back yet again, though.
And I gotta say, that was a super bold play from CLG to make, because there was double TP advantage for Envy, and they didn't use either of them. That could have been turned around very heavily if it was not played correctly.
All right, Huhi's just going to open up the Lifeform Disintegration Ray on the Nisqy there, take him down to about 25%, scare him away from that chicken camp. Stixxay and aphromoo. Ooh, good sidestep there. Darshan stopping Seraph's back, just going to annoy him as much as humanly possible. Ninja Tabby Bramble Vest. How to make an auto attack champion's life really, really annoying.
Cost 2,000 gold, 1,100, and also 900. And you really just make it so that auto attack champion doesn't do much to you. And then also, the healing from the Trundle is pretty big. It's a large part of his power budget. If he's dueling you, he's not going to have a good time. Yeah, like you can see at the bottom of the screen, both teleports are up. There's no forward wards or anything for them to really capitalize on afterwards. And aphromoo, this is a bit of a bait here in terms of everybody trying to collapse afterwards.
Yeah, and double TP wasn't quite up. Trundles was still on cooldown.
Yeah, just barely.
Based on this, so the Corki, though, could have teleported. He was close to Vel'Koz at the time. Watching the gank once again, aphromoo 3 points in Black Shield. Seraph stopped that.
Yep.
In this replay, it teleports up, so it might have been a spectator bug as far as tracking the cooldowns.
I believe it came up in the middle of the fight there. Right as the first part of that replay had cut out, it came back up. So, yeah, you're absolutely right. There were about 5 seconds left on it. So there was a single TP up from Nisqy, who had just shown bottom with package a few seconds earlier, so it probably expired right around that fight.
Gotta be a little bit careful here. Notice how Seraph is actually just ignoring Darshan, because he can still heal off the minions if he doesn't apply grievous wounds to himself by hitting Darshan. If you want to make the lane even more non-interactive.
Literally penalize the enemy player for interacting with you. As Nisqy, here in the mid lane, 132 CS to the 145 of Huhi. Hex Drinker and Sheen having to delay that Trinity Force power spike a little bit, so he has that extra defensive option against that crazy burst that we've seen out of Huhi's Vel'Koz. I respect this itemization choice.
I think it's necessary. LirA still trying to find his way into this game, 0-0-0. 13.5 minutes in, that's not the type of impact LirA wants to have on these games.
I mean, LirA struggled this whole series getting involved early like this. That was kind of my reservation seeing the Elise locked in here in game number 3 is, are we just going to see a repeat of game number 1? Will he not be able to find out how to get those laners ahead? You said, Jat, you got 2 steps when you're playing a champ like Elise. Get ahead of the enemy jungler, get your lanes ahead. So far, we've done step 1. Where's step 2?
Hasn't gotten step 1 this game.
Nope.
So far away from step 2.
Okay, we're not even close to step 2.
Yeah, playing off of the lanes, it seems to be a little bit more difficult. And what I'm seeing is CLG's warding. Like, they don't have to put wards in the enemy jungle. They're placing them in their own because they're just like, LirA's going to run by this bush right here. This one is such a value ward that they keep getting. Ooh, looking for him again.
Oh, man, that spider's going to get squished.
Huhi,
oh, the Trundles are down. Huhi's damage is there. Nisqy with the package, using it to escape, but losing their jungler.
That's the anti-LirA ward. They just keep warding right there. And
LirA keeps stepping right there.
I mean, you gotta if you're gonna go for any part of that bottom side jungle.
And when you have a winning bottom lane, like basically why I'm saying he's not going so much on the top side is he has his winning bottom lane, the side that the Infernal Drake is spawning on. That's where the enemy jungler is gonna start coming into that lane. And so LirA is looking for the setup, which would be standard with this winning matchup.
Exactly, watching it one more time, killing the controller, but no deep vision, and still doesn't have vision of the CLG bottom lane because they had been able to shove that out a little bit. Prediction and timing, very critical right there. Just the W detonation before he can click on the lantern. And now CLG has a chance to set up for this Infernal Drink. LirA will be coming back, down flash. It's all about where you have the waves shoved. Darshan is low on mana, and Envy still having the push on that bottom side as well as the control ward to go for Infernal Drink.
Nisqy, no TP. Both top laners have it available. Like you said, Darshan, no mana though. Seraph ready to TP at a moment's notice if he needs to. Darshan getting himself back, has the mana now.
They're going to contest.
Yeah. CLG, they're not willing to give this one over. This is why I love Infernal Drakes.
Oh, here they go.
The bottom lane, Hakuho in some trouble along with Apollo, firing off the box. Gonna be defending against this one. OmarGod taking low. Seraph looking to bring him down. The chop through the shield. Seraph grabs the kill. Nisqy off to the side, keeping Huhi from joining this fight. Losing that individual trade, however, it's a 1-for-0 for Envy.
Yeah, OmarGod went in with the body slam flash, but he didn't have cask up. He's still not up at this moment. So he would have been able to actually hit Apollo and Hakuho in or get flashes, but it just looked like one where, a few seconds off on that.
Over the wall goes Darshan. They're to find the knock-up. This could be trouble. Envy, their top laner taken so incredibly low, they're not quite able to find the 2 kill.
The 3.
You're kidding me. A triple kill for Nisqy. CLG lose everyone!
Seraph stayed alive through all of that too. Everyone on CLG tunneled over the wall, and then the AoE from Corki came through. Disaster for CLG and a huge play for Envy.
I don't care how much trigonometry you study, that laser's not stealing the Infernal Drake away. Red team secured. Envy grabs Drake number 2. This team is looking good.
Such a critical moment in the game. We'd seen that LirA had an impact on the early game. We talked about how Huhi has been a god on Vel'Koz and also the scaling of that bottom lane. If that Infernal Drake goes over to CLG, they take momentum of this game back. But when 3 kills go over to Nisqy, you completely change the complexion of that mid lane and where you can get pressure.
And they see Seraph there, go right over onto him, but then the ultimate came out, hit him enough, and that was... Disgusting to pick up 3 kills there for Nisqy. That's going to get him right at that Trinity Force spike.
And this is a mid-game champion, boys. We're not talking about something that's like, okay, well, all he needs is 5 items and he'll be online. Trinity Force alone, with that Hex Drake or those Sorcerer Shoes, this guy's scary.
Yeah, Missile Barrage as well as Phos Bomb on everyone who's going over the wall against Trundle. Just a rare moment of just tunnel vision by CLG in that fight. That's Nisqy's dream is Corki. I'm going to be able to melee range all the other team carries, and they're not going to be hitting me, actually. They're going to be
I'm just going to shoot all of them.
Yeah, because the Trundle is deceptively tanky at that point with the ultimate, and Nisqy, he's going to do a lot of damage because mostly at this point, it's been itemization towards some early armor. We just now see that the Spectre's Cowl comes out for Darshan, but honestly, just doing so much damage in these fights because of all of that Corki damage. Once again, just counter jungling.
Yep, take away the chickens. Take away the chickens. Hook not finding its way onto aphromoo. OmarGod still hanging around just in case. But LirA's also nearby. Not quite as close as Omar is, clearing out some more of his own jungle, just trying to stay farmed.
Yeah, Jat talked about uptime.
Oh, nice cast going to Apollo into the root. He's no way out. Very well played from the combination of the CLG bottom lane and jungler. Now looking for turret first blood.
Yeah, it's 19 minutes in. Look at, oh my God,
no, they're going to be chain CC and OmarGod. He's out of there now too. More damage coming in from Nisqy. The rocket
Here
from the phosphorus bomb. The repel comes down. aphromoo running for dear life. Stixxay the same. Both of them managed to retreat, but Envy quickly responds to CLG's aggro.
Yeah, nice gank at first by CLG, but then another moment of just over-eagerness, it felt like, from CLG. We've seen glimpses of it kind of throughout this series where Omar does go that half step too far, and that's what gets punished. No wards over the wall where the Corki could be roaming from, and also no mid lane push to pull the Corki back to mid. Hakuho gets just the right timing on the hook as the body slam comes through. Let's watch this gank one more time.
Yeah, so they will actually go for this, and OmarGod really committed to it. Doesn't get Hakuho in, but he still gets Apollo, which is who he's going after here. The mid lane push came out from the Corki, but then Huhi instead goes for the blue to pick this up and kind of maximize his time. So he doesn't match the roam because they don't have vision control at all. CLG's wards are all shallow to protect their jungle. They aren't deep wards.
Yeah, Black Shield about 1/10 of a second late if you wanted to avoid that hook as well. Body slam not quite early enough either for Omar to get out.
You can see the frustration on the player cam for OmarGod after the outcome of that play.
Because that's a desync in the team. When Huhi is going for the blue buff, your bottom side should just shove, play safe, but he positioned aggressively to try and get a turret 18 minutes into the game, but it just seems like, no, because you don't have your strong side of the map, or at least your mid kind of going towards that side, it's honestly the wrong play to make.
Yeah, and this is also the closest game of the series. We're 21 minutes in, and no one's gotten first turret yet. So Seraph, as the Trundle, you're thinking he's going to be chipping away on that Maokai. Wait for the Maokai to teleport away, and then that turret's gone because you can chomp it down. Or it's just going to happen right now because Darshan is starting to lose that 1v1. And is maybe afraid of a dive right there. Kind of gives it over. Are they trying to make a play on the other side?
Apollo getting bound up. The Dark Binding from Morgana is enough to put the brakes on that one. OmarGod walking away. So much attention being paid to this bottom lane. CLG trying to shut down the Apollo carry machine.
CLG just don't have enough vision to track LirA. All of their wards are shallow to protect their own jungle, and they look like they thought LirA was on the top side of the map there, and Nisqy went towards that side. So Darshan backed up. They said, all right, let's make a counterplay on the bottom side. So LirA was actually there.
Here we go again. OmarGod on the front line. Hakuho trying to defend himself. The box comes down. The flash comes out. The stun goes through.
They're all here.
Not quite going to be finding it. Mark Darshan now the target. 5 men from Envy still looking to mount this assault if they can possibly find the damage. Darshan nearly dropping. OmarGod's popping. There comes your life form disintegration ray, but everybody from Envy makes the retreat. And CLG drops 1 for 0.
No one can reset for Stixxay right there. Everyone on Envy stays just alive, and Envy was all over that play. They teleported in at just the right time. Darshan gets ulted by the Seraph, so you can no longer focus the Trundle, and Envy make another play work.
And now Envy gets to push mid, reward the jungle, take the Raptors, and they get a lot off that play, because this will be some mid-turret damage as well. And the Infernal Drake's coming up shortly, and they'll have the coverage. That was a QSS, flash out of the way.
Yeah, another one of those for Paulo because he knows how much he's getting focused in this game. Gets out. The Jinx ult burned early and not for an execute onto Hakuho was a misplay in this fight because the rest of the fight then plays out and Stixxay does get a lot of poke damage through with that Vel'Koz ult. Imagine you got a Jinx ult right there. Then you can kill Seraph and start resetting, but it was not to be. Envy comes ahead with a 1-0.
And CLG, they're staring down the barrel of a repeat of last split where they got dropped by FlyQuest in the quarterfinals. They made changes to their roster, the longest standing NALCS roster in history, to try and reverse that and change it. But now this is a momentum-based game.
And they're going right for an Infernal Drake. They do not want Envy to start stacking them, but they're at a gold deficit right now. So getting a pick is paramount. In a straight-up 5v5 fight when they can't get Nisqy, they would lose.
Seraph's taking a lot of damage very, very quickly. CLG looking to go after him, but LirA's got the Infernal Drake. That's 2 of those now, I believe, for Team Envy. Very big damage bonus for them. The CLG 5 mid-middle, mounting the push onto the tier 1. Nisqy, LirA, Seraph, all here. Seraph at half HP. Hakuho also very low. Envy not in a condition to fight this.
Yeah, Nisqy is actually in a very good point right now for this part of the game. He just threw out a big one, and it cleared the caster minions, which is crucial for Corki. It's a big break point for him because you don't have to throw out the Q plus the R. Just the one single R did it there, and then they weren't able to siege that turret. Because this turret here on CLG's side is very close to going down. It's the next one they really have in their sights here as they're swapping the lane and putting Seraph on the bottom side.
A much slower paced game than what we've seen in the previous 2 matches. 24 minutes in, 1 turret down. 11 kills between the 2 teams. Still a 3,000 gold lead for Team Envy. As now they move up to try to steal away this blue buff. OmarGod waiting around nearby. Maybe he can get it back with the smite. Not today. LirA's got that secure as now aphromoo brought out. The root will bring him down. LirA grabbing the kill. As now Hakuho's got to be careful trying to get himself away. The cast comes out. They might be able to get the damage right back there onto LirA. The root down onto Hakuho. They're able to find the damage there. CLG has found a big fight.
Seraph down bottom, does not have teleport, and cannot make it into this fight. CLG is going to start Baron. 4v2 temporarily, 4v1 now that Nisqy's gone away. He's teleporting in, Seraph running up.
Apollo and Nisqy have their work cut out for them. 2 vulnerable carries have to try to poke CLG off of this.
There's Maokai ultimate.
Missing arrow, Maokai ultimate going to be zoning them away. Seraph trying to come up here and stop this. They need him on the front line. They've got to have him get in there first. Maokai jumping in, Darshan going to be tanking. However,
so much damage.
He's going to be careful. Seraph will drain those tank stats. Darshan having to run. Stixxay taken low. Envy will hold the line at Baron for now.
Seraph makes it in, and somehow is just a magnet for CLG's damage because Nisqy was standing right next to him and Darshan twisted and advanced the Trundle. So I think that was an opportunity for CLG to get a few more kills, but it gets pushed off because they keep trying to kill this mega Trundle that Seraph is building up.
And he's at that point, 50 CS up. He's in a good point in the game. He got the solo turret gold on the top side, so he's actually quite far ahead. And this Trundle's just going to be stealing those tank stats like you said. Nisqy, though, this rookie is doing so much damage. He's above the 10 CS per minute mark, just like Huhi, but he's still ahead of him. And he's at that double item power spike.
I mean, honestly, both mid laners this game just putting on hell of a performance for themselves. Take a look at how this fight all started.
Yeah, and it's on Hakuho. The bottom lane of Apollo and Hakuho will have won against aphromoo and Stixxay in lane and here with the pick. But then the re-engage by CLG is very strong. There's no Trundle to be found, so it turns into a 4v4, and they actually get a lot of damage onto both the jungle and support of Envy to clear it out. We know what happened from there. They could not peel from Baron properly, and it ended up reset.
Darshan eating some damage from LirA, and that Maokai is actually not that tanky against these guys, having to walk away from this. He itemized so much armor against the Trundle, and now when the magic damage comes in, yeah, he's got Spirit Visage, but things seem a little helter-skelter.
You got Spirit Visage up against a Trinity Force, Infinity Edge already completed here. 2 item, very, very expensive items for Nisqy.
Yeah, and this is a teleport from Maokai. CLG's gonna try and force.
Yeah. LirA wants to get pulled to safety. Dark Passage will find it. The kitties come out. They find a couple of targets, but now Darshan's in the middle of 4. There's also going to be a collapse here onto Seraph, who flashes away and stays alive with the tank ability of Trundle.
And this is where Envy is actually flexing their macro muscles a little bit. So with the Trundle, they win the 1v1 split push, which is forcing CLG to try for these fights. But when Seraph matches, and then he actually goes frontline for frontline, and they win that too, it doesn't leave CLG very many options.
Hakuho stepping away from the plasma fission. Knockup not going to find him either, but he flashes away just to make sure. Nisqy now looking for some damage here. Piercing arrow comes out. Ooh, both sides. The dance of death here in the mid lane, trying to go poke for poke, seeing if they can just barely get the better of their opponents. Envy heading towards the Baron pit.
Man, we talked about in that top lane, because you keep bringing up Seraph now, how good of a split Darshan has had, making a lot of people's all-pro team lists. And Seraph was kind of the guy who was even considered no sixth. He's up against all these fantastic top laners, and he's been able on this red side to counterpick every single game. They've been giving him exactly what matchup he wants. In the first game, it wasn't a winning one, but the other two, they gave him the winning matchups. And we see what that does for the map and the macro play of Envy.
Yeah, and even just looking at statistics, it's not too much of a stretch to say Seraph was the worst performing starting top laner in the North American LCS in the regular season.
Yeah.
But he is stepping up right now and in this series. His Rumble game was awesome in game 2, and this Trundle game is dictating a lot of the flow of the game. Darshan can't deal with him. He's got a 2-level advantage, and he's itemizing heavily tanky and team fighting surprisingly well with this Trundle, who we talked about the kite ability of later on, but he's just soaking way more damage than Darshan is on Maokai in these team fights.
And honestly, if you take a step into the time machine here and go back to spring 2017, it's hard to believe that this was your 10th place team in that split. And now they're 6th. They're contending with CLG.
Yeah, and it's just game 3 of this series. There's plenty of game and series to play yet, but you talk about CLG fighting for that 3rd seed so they could play Envy, so they didn't have to play C9 and Dig. And the playoffs has very much been a 5-team conversation with Envy on the outside, waving their arms, saying, pay attention to me.
Hey, we're here.
But towards the end of the regular season, they lost to all the playoff teams. So they did come in kind of backing their way into the playoffs. It looks like they are prepared well, and they're absolutely in contention in this series.
And Envy, as an organization, have never won a playoff series. And you even go further back than that, Seraph, all the way back to his time on CounterLogic Gaming, Seraph has never won a playoff series in his career. If he's able to pull out today, get in that shape that we're talking about and we're seeing from him with these counter picks, it could be his first.
What
Let's remember, Seraph was on CLG for a year. Back in 2014, he was teammates with aphromoo. So it's been so long, you often forget about the lineage of some of these players. But man, what a time for Seraph to start showing up.
Envy now with 6,000 gold over their opponents. 3 turrets up to 0, 4 drakes to 0. Everything. The ball is in their court.
If they stay too long, it'll be a collapse from both sides. This is a pincer from both Nisqy and Seraph.
Killer comes out, the rockets come through.
Whoa, that position from Stixxay.
I don't think anything else is quite going to be happening. Nice black shield to stop the cocoon. LirA pulled the safety. Seraph now off to the side by his lonesome, but I'm pretty sure CLG have learned that they cannot go on this Trundle anytime soon if they want to hope to win the fight. Stixxay healing back up. Wow! That rocket damage.
And Stixxay's also getting to that point. He's at very nearly double completed seal item, and an Ardent Sensor Black Shield is going to be powering him up. So it is difficult for Envy to get to Stixxay in these fights. We cannot forget that team fighting advantage that CLG has compositionally, and the matter that Envy has to outplay it or just out-gold it coming into that because of the threat of that Jinx in late game fights.
But keep in mind, this Ardent Sensor will only apply to Stixxay, and it will only last 6 seconds, with the Black Shield being a 12-second cooldown right now. So aphromoo, once he gets more CDR, it'll be a little bit better, but it's still something where we're not seeing that constant application of this item.
Especially not to multiple people. A lot of times that's one of the big dangers of it, is you can see people have it applied to the entire team, but not in this situation. You mentioned it earlier on, Zyrene, when we first took a look at the Morgana and the Wind Speakers. Bonds of Stone is the choice for those who want to apply the Ardent Sensor to multiple people with the Morgana. The Wind Speakers means your shield is stronger, it's harder to pop, but you're not getting those Ardent procs.
And I can't see the argument for aphromoo in this team composition. Omar, Darshan, and Huhi aren't exactly people that you think of as auto attackers who would benefit from the Ardent Sensor.
Right.
So getting the armored magic resist and increased shield amount from Wind Speakers can be a good choice, but at this point, with Envy having 4 Elemental Drakes, it's about setting the split push with your Trundle and your teleport being up, pressuring that turret while ignoring Darshan, and then playing around Baron with picks.
CLG can't commit too many more big errors in these team fights. So many times we've seen them overextend on tanks, trying too hard to kill a Seraph Trundle that's just far too hard to kill. And if they keep up with that, eventually they won't be able to try it anymore.
Yeah, and something that we talked about in Game 1 was the lack of engage from Envy versus an artillery composition from CLG. They have circumvented that by having double teleport, shoving lanes with an advantage for a Trundle and an advantage for a Corki. You push the side lanes, if they try to engage, you'll have a flank, and the Vel'Koz will be pinched in from 3 directions. So you really get the pressure put on you here. And Seraph, he's going to not interact.
Look at how much
Give me this turret. Give me that structure.
Look at how much he cares about Darshan. Not at all.
Oh man, when I think of Seraph's career, I think of these moments where he's split pushing everybody else on the team, back to TDK, back to CLG, the Nidalee, whatever, getting his team an advantage by being a superior split pusher.
He takes that big old troll club and just beats the death out of that inhibitor, takes it down 33 minutes in, and now CLG will respond by taking a tier 1. That's not a trade you ever want to make.
Yeah, and this Jinx, Envy can't make mistakes on the other side either, because the Jinx resets, you can clean that up. So Seraph, I wonder if he's going to stick around, wait for supers, and keep going for him, because the collapse is always a threat as well.
This is hilarious. He's dipping into Fog of War. There are 5 control wards from CLG to prevent flanks. This is what this is all about, but he might actually still find one.
He does step over a ward at the last possible second. Binding comes out towards LirA, not quite finding the mark here. LirA wanting to go for the Cocoon, able to find it onto aphromoo, who pops the Black Shield onto Stixxay. That goes down. CLG, though, not going to be caught out today. Envy, although they're ahead, still playing this patiently. Happy to have got that inhibitor.
Yeah, and CLG is actually not having many plays left in the playbook. Going for Baron and forcing a 5v5 before Trundle can set up another split push and do what we just saw is all they got left. Or they can maybe find a pick with aphromoo while Envy is doing setup, because Envy does hold a lot of cards with this split push Trundle.
Seraph checking the brush. CLG hobbling out as the pillar slows them all down. Nice sidestep away from the binding there by Seraph. Apollo is still the guy who has just done so much work for Envy this series. Played the Ruined King build this game, not quite having the same scoreline he did last time. 0-1 and 8, putting up more of a supportive actor role this time.
Well, because it's not just him being the only physical damage dealer on the team, since we have a Trundle, he doesn't have to go for like the Infinity Edge 3rd item. He can go for some magic or some armor penetration, but also the QSS was his 2nd buy after he completed Blade of the Ruined King, because he knew the win condition for CLG was to try and stop this bleeding, get this Jinx to that point where those team fights are going your way, and they shut that down. And now they're playing for that top turret as the Trundle is grouped up with the team.
Yeah, this is a little bit perplexing because they're allowing Darshan to stay full-time in the bottom lane, and they're not forcing anything. They're too hesitant to go for a 5v4 Baron. So if that's the case, Seraph should not be here, because the only time it should not be bottom lane split pushing is when they're forcing something.
Nice Black Shield from aphromoo, keeping Huhi protected there. Meanwhile, turret dropping on the top part of the map. That's the tier 2 falling for CLG.
And like you said, Jat, bottom side of the map, Darshan just gets to sit here, but they're forcing. Did he hit? No.
Got Afro's flash. But this scenario shouldn't be happening. Either Envy should be on Baron, or Seraph should be bottom lane, because the amount of time they're allowing Darshan to buy is too high. He spent 2 minutes split pushing super minions, and now he's actually had time to roam back up to force a 5v5, and there's no push on the other side.
And these were our critiques of Envy as a team, their macro play, but now it's breaking out into the micro 5v5. Unstoppable Nisqy starting off the fight. 5 versus 4 now for Envy. CLG having to play this one carefully. LirA going to be bound up. Swift advance, able to find him. Darshan flashing away, but the light disintegration rate doesn't do enough. Huhi now going to be chased down. Stixxay with the flash forward. Stixxay nearly taken out, but instead he might be able to Nisqy with the rocket. Envy 3 for nothing. Baron's on the table.
Such a close fight. You're always fearful of those Jinx resets, but Stixxay never gets a single one. Seraph gets the ult on Darshan, becomes a mega tank, and Envy take another step towards victory.
Let's see this. This is a bait. They just show only the Trundle in the pit. OmarGod walks up the Black Shield too late there, and it gets popped. And I love this repel from LirA. Takes no damage,
baits them in as they don't do anything during that time. And even though it's a 4-man disintegration ray, it does not do enough to bring anybody down. And Stixxay, Black Shield to save from the magic damage, not that physical damage from Seraph. And as he's casting the zap and self-rooted, Nisqy.
Now look what's live, boys. We got 2 Infernal Drakes again and an Elder up.
Oh, they got it right away. They're rushing this. Omar has Smite right now, but he'd have to go and will not be able to get there.
And there's package up. You can't try to force into a Corki with package. There's no way that is 100% secured for Envy. Things are looking grim for CLG.
And this is the power spike. The next 2.5 minutes of Elder Drake, they're going to have this and Baron. They have the Trundle to split push. They have an open inhibitor, but they're just going straight to the turrets. 5v5 with the package in the side and another hook.
Hook onto Omar. Black Shield keeps him safe to the follow-up CC. The tier 2 falls. Nisqy pushing up in the top side here. Remember, every single tiny rocket will apply that dragon burn now. The poke threat is severe. From the side of Envy, up 13,000 gold. The inhibitor does respawn for CLG, but Trundle's knocking at the door yet again. CLG.
The push, yeah.
Oh, this is such a difficult situation for these guys. You're down so far. The enemy has every resource at their disposal. They need a miracle hold here. But Envy continues applying the pressure. 2 minutes left on Baron. Elder Dragon buff about halfway through.
I feel like this is just such a bad situation right now for CLG. Everything's just going to get collapsed in. The 1-3-1 is going to be superior.
1-3-1 is great as long as your 3 doesn't get caught. And that's all Envy needs to guard against. So CLG will be looking to make a play at some point. Envy's doing a very good job staying just outside of threat range while they chip down these turrets. A little bit of Corki catch on the side, but once again, they disengage, and they get mid. Look at that play by Envy.
And Apollo's playing really confidently, knowing that Hakuho is back to Lantern, but if anything happens, he has QSS and Flash.
Seraph tanking everybody on the side of CLG. The turret goes down on the top side as well. Tier 3s are all gone. Nisqy's still putting in work on that second inhibitor. Rune out onto OmarGod. Black Shield thrown down as well. Nisqy still looking to find the damage here onto the carry. Stixxay taking below half HP. Inhibitors all down. Envy bringing CLG to the edge here in game number 3. Seeing if they can take us to match point. Nexus turret number 1. Dropping rapidly. CLG, you've got to fight here. Envy's looking to end the game. Seraph on the front line. Darshan going to be soaking the damage from the rockets. Redemption coming down. OmarGod going to die first. Darshan will try to tank. He finds his way onto the back line. Only onto LirA, though. A double kill for Nisqy. The hook onto aphromoo. Team Envy destroys CLG's roster, destroys CLG's base, destroys CLG's Nexus, and takes us to game 4.
And they are 1 game away from destroying their hopes.
That is the dream for Team Envy, to knock CLG out of the playoffs, to find their win here in the quarterfinals, and they are closer than a lot of people thought they would get. What a performance from this team so far.
Yeah, a number of people predicting a 3-0 for CLG coming into this series based on the number 3 seed versus the number 6 seed and Envy's 4-match losing streak against playoff teams, but that has not been the story of this series, specifically the way they took a small gold lead and then split push their way to a large gold lead. That's the type of play that Envy did not do in the regular season.
Exactly.
And what a time to be able to pull that off. Now 1 game away from knocking CLG out of the playoffs in the quarterfinals in the summer split.
For an in-depth look on how Envy fixed those issues and found themselves a victory in game number 3, let's send things over to the analysts.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Envy showing up here. What is this?
Nothing.
What is this? You trying to throw your
I mean, I got a
under the
lot
bus?
of shade on the last toss.
Come on,
this
don't
time.
be a sore loser. He was less wrong than you were. I'll just
Still
leave
gets
it at
points
that.
off.
Envy, though, striking back again here in Game 3 to push it to match point. They have shown up today against CLG. I think we have to full stop acknowledge that.
Nisqy, this rookie on Team Envy, he changed the way the team looked in the regular split, and now in playoff games, in these high-pressure situations, he's flourishing, actually. He's excelling so much in the mid lane.
And I think it's the way he's doing it, too, because we always knew he was mechanically good. We saw him go relatively even versus Jensen and Bjergsen and people like that before. And here, what he's doing really impressively is he's matching Huhi's roams for the most part. He's not, you know, there every single time Huhi roams. Huhi still found some early on in this game, but he made some ones down the bot lane when it mattered. And he was able to get himself really fed this game.
Right, in a lot of cases, he's actually the first to roam. And Huhi, who is typically accredited as being one of the largest roamers in the North American LCS, is the one who's second, you know, to the fight.
I mean, he's on Vel'Koz this game,
He
so
is on
we'll slow
Vel'Koz.
down a little bit.
Yeah. Less tools than the Corki for sure. But I was largely impressed with Nisqy's performance in this game. On top of that, when we look at Champion Select, in particular, the Maokai taken for Darshan in the top lane, I do actually like that as an individual pick for CLG, but I thought the Trundle response was very intelligent.
That was really intelligent. Also, you know, 3 games in a row for Hakuho on Thresh. He has destroyed Afro and laning phase over and over again, and this is a huge problem as well. So there's a lot of things working really well for Envy here.
Yeah, the bottom lane, we can't talk enough about this Envy bottom lane. They have had huge advantages, even in the game that they lost, and they're still performing extremely well.
Very much so. Let's dive into some gameplay. 16:30 into the game near the Dragon. Envy coming out 3 for 0 in this one.
And this is one of those plays that you always scratch your head at by CLG. OmarGod just died in a failed gank play bottom, and this is CLG still kind of with a small health advantage on some champions, trying to force essentially a 4v5 here. And surprise, surprise, Darshan sees someone over the wall, wants to force onto him and make a play, but there's still a number disadvantage.
Yeah, we get the look at CLG's vision, but they can still see death timers, right? You know, Omar is dead, as you said, and we talked a little bit about it in the game that CLG won. They still had some of these desynced engagements in the mid game. And this one, you can't even blame Omar for not being there. He was in the fountain. They make the call to go over kind of blind.
It's a thing there, like at the spring split, there was a joke about how, you know, CLG would find a way to get themselves aced pre-20 minutes. And this is a little bit of shades of that in the first game, like you said, that one jungle fight that went 3 for 3. And then here, a 4v5 that gets turned horribly wrong.
Nisqy picked up all 3 of the kills there, too, in that little skirmish, and that really put Corki over the top when it came to itemization. We fast forward to 36:30 into the game around the Baron. Envy going to pick up another 3 for 0, and the Baron on the back end. OmarGod this time, once again, the culprit.
OmarGod had a lot of series of plays this game where he just walks too far forward. There's one in the bot lane. Here, once again, in melee range of Thresh, gets hooked, blown up instantly as the rest of the team of Envy is very fed. And then you're, once again, fighting a 4v5 here on CLG. A nice ultimate out of Huhi, but there's no armor pen onto Stixxay yet. You see him basically tickling the Trundle there. He's able to walk away fine, and they win this fight, and they force a Baron.
Nisqy, while he's in a binding from Morgana, can't even move, fires this big one rocket. Able to find that last kill.
Yeah, and this is the thing. I've gotten to the point where I kind of want to stop affording OmarGod the leeway of being a rookie. You're in the playoffs. The expectation is now that you need to step up and perform alongside your team, because for the entirety of the split, we haven't afforded the same kind of leeway to Nisqy. A player who, when he came in, we were like, no, eyes are on him to turn this team around and perform for them, while we've given OmarGod some time to ramp up. And Nisqy is actually the rookie here in the playoffs that is stepping up big for his squad.
I mean, that's a huge part of it. And I think you also have to look at the bot lane, just because aphromoo, we're talking about all the rookies and if they're performing or not. Well, what about the veterans? Because Afro, like we said, being destroyed in laning phase, getting hit by way too many hooks, didn't shield himself one time, and just like, as a hook is clearly flying at him, and he almost dies off of it. And it just keeps costing their bot lane a power point on the map, and they always are under pressure. All the actions being forced around there, and you're fighting from a weakened state, essentially.
I mean, it's a good question, right? How do you, how do you adjust around that? The fact that the Thresh has gone over to Hakuho 3 games in a row, is it as simple as taking him off of a playmaker, change the dynamic of the bot lane so that you might have a chance? Or is it simply that aphromoo is playing at a subpar level?
I think it's a little bit of both.
I definitely think that switching up the champions to a more advantageous matchup can alleviate an issue, but some of the decisions like Mark was talking about that we're looking at just seem a bit out of place for him. I would also say that the Trundle last pick for Envy, saving the counter pick for Seraph, was so big in this game. It's such a huge difference when we get to see Seraph on these split pushers. The casters were talking about it. This is kind of the history of Seraph. Even when he was playing on CLG, he was kind of put a lot in this scenario, and him on the Trundle versus something like the Maokai, it just set Envy up with so many more options.
And it feels another situation where, yeah, Envy's going to have side selection here. So if they want to take red side again.
They did. I can confirm that.
Yeah, so there you go. Envy can get counter pick again for Seraph if they want it. It feels like if they just pick something that's not abusable early on for Nisqy, and he just holds on to mid lane, Bot lane feels like it's winning. Top lane, now you have a counter pick. That's fine. He'll go even. And then it's just about the fact that, LirA's going to outperform Omar.
I think it's quite worrisome for CLG, the fact that they chose blue both games after having dropped the game, that they are basically disallowing themselves the opportunity to play a red side game if Envy is to win their third match here in Game 4.
I mean, this is a series where there's a lot of trends being broken. One, Envy winning a lot for when they struggled to do that for CLG. Winning on red side, you heard Zyrene at the start of the broadcast talking about the fact that they had pretty horrible red side win
They're
rates.
bucking that trend entirely.
Yeah, never winning a playoff series. They're on the cusp of doing that. So overall, Envy is having a phenomenal series.
Right. I mean, so we've identified, though, that Envy here, again, kind of relying on a lot of the early game focus, the playmaker of the Thresh for Hakuho, the Elise for, once again, for LirA. I'm starting to even more so be worried for the fact that, or rather, you can't get rid of all these playmakers, right? As CLG, I can't throw that many bans out that I can get these, crucial players on the opposing team off of the playmakers. Now I'm not really sure what my recipe for victory is, besides maybe indexing entirely towards maybe a winning top side.
Well, cooking is an art, Dash. It's not all about the recipe, You have to also
You get too abstract for me now.
And I want to bring it back though to the point I was talking about before, the desynced engagements, and a lot of it is going to come down to the play. Yes, you can have a really good recipe, but you also have to measure correctly. I guess I'll go with that. Yeah.
It tracks. The analogy tracks. Anyway, we're looking for perfection here in Game 4. We're going to step away, but when we return, Team Envy will not only, we'll see if Team Envy will not only pull off the match win, but pick up their first playoff win in the history of the organization.
Cooking stream next.
You got in my head.
You're so too busy thinking about
I'm too busy, yeah. What's for dinner tonight?
You play when you play here, something.
Yeah, but they're already going towards.
Yeah.
So they will just lose.
Yeah, they'll just give us the win because.
And then we play IMT in finals.
aphromoo going to be taking low the ignite down the auto attack in, not quite able to find him. Just enough saving onto Hakuho. OmarGod comes in, flashing to the body slam into more damage. The super mega death rocket.
Jinx.
Can you slow?
I slow. Nice one, Jinx.
Nice.
Bear slash. He's in the flash.
No.
Nice.
Darshan flashing away, but the platform disintegration rate doesn't do enough. Huhi now going to be chased down. Stixxay with the flash forward. Stixxay nearly taken out, but instead he might be able to... Nisqy with the rocket! Team Envy destroys CLG's roster, destroys CLG's base, destroys CLG's Nexus.